Welcome to the Danbury Dems. My name is John Gogliettino. I'm your host. We're going to be talking to Bob Godfrey. He's the Deputy Speaker and representative from the 110th District. We're still working remotely, probably going to be like this for a while. So you make do what you have. You know, there are some advantages and disadvantages. Like, for example, the setup is a little easier, but it does take a while at times to get going. With no further ado, Bob, will you give us a little bit of your background for those
Sure.
that are new in town that may not know that you've been around for a while? And you were saying you're one of my oldest as an interviewee, one of my oldest interviewer. I'm the interviewer, and you're the yes. Yeah, well, they get it.
Congratulations! 25 years of being on air, John. That's quite a milestone. Good for you.
Yes.
And I was like one of your first five the people on your show a long time ago.
Yeah.
And my hair was much darker.
Yeah, well, at least you got here.
Aha! There you go. There you go. That's the Italian side. That's your suit. So so I was born in Danbury in 1948. My mom, Rita Godfrey, was a registered nurse. She was actually had a career in a time when that was kind of unusual for women. I used to tease her a little bit and called her a proto-feminist. She was there before it became a movement. And my dad, Doug Godfrey, worked for the railroad. He was a brakeman for the New Haven line, running freight from Danbury to Pittsfield for a long time. And after an injury, we wound up buying a pet shop, the Stony Hill Pet Shop in Bethel, and running that for a number of years. That's how I kind of worked my way through college. I went to St. Peter's and Immaculate High School. I was in the Immaculate High School first graduating class. I have my bachelor's degree from Fordham University in English, and subsequently I have a Juris Doctorate degree in law from the University of Connecticut School of Law. I've worked in a number of jobs, retail, spent a couple of 7 years in the Navy, dealt with issues when I was on the city council for a few years before I became a state representative in 1989. Currently, I am the Deputy Speaker pro tempore, and which means I get to preside over the House of Representatives frequently. And I currently serve on the Judiciary Committee, which is my big one. I'm an attorney by trade. It kind of makes sense. I'm the longest serving current member of that committee. I'm also on legislative management, which doesn't do much of anything, and on executive and legislative nominations, which vets and votes on all of the appointed officials that need to be confirmed by the General Assembly, both from the governor and from other legislative leaders. I've been very busy for a number of years. I'm particularly interested and a champion for children, seniors, and freedom of information, government transparency, and I've won many awards for all of those things. And I'm really, really happy that the people of my district, which encompasses downtown Danbury and the neighborhoods south and west of the downtown, for all these many years. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay, very good. Now the General Assembly has been closed. For this entire pandemic period. When they finally decided let's close the state down, like they should be doing maybe with some of these other states. But it had the good thing about this in Connecticut, and there's always people talking about the negative. The good thing about it is that we're green right now, which is very good. To be green, you got a little more flexibility. Yes, you got restrictions still. You should be wearing a mask. You should be you know, you got to be careful in some areas, maybe wear gloves in certain spots, but you have those restrictions, but we do have a lot more freedom than other areas where you don't know what you're going to get. And there's people that, you know, like, not to mention any, well, there's one I'll mention because I'm really, every time I'm shocked at the way they go around on the beaches and stuff in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, they're unprotected. And so it's good that we're in this position, but what has the General Assembly been doing during this time?
Not much.
You've been doing things like this. You're having your committee meeting.
Yeah. You know, our last session day was March 11th. That was actually the last time I was in my office, and I'm happy that I hadn't left anything in the refrigerator that could have, you know, rotted. I understand there were a few cases of that, and we were told, you know, we'd be out for 2 days to undergo a cleaning, and we never went back. And so under our Constitution, our session ended quite formally in May. So we did all of one bill this year, and it was a bond bill, which provided for schools and roads and housing and money to municipalities, and interestingly enough, almost ironically, money for police body cameras. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So it's going to be a long time catching up. Next year, we go back for a regular session in January, and we'll also talk about a predicted special session in July to do a few things. But I've been working from home like everybody else. I've gotten into a routine. I do about 4 hours of constituent work, and then everything else is really keeping current with what's going on, both with state government and the world in general, and certainly with the coronavirus. It's certainly this pandemic, which is an unprecedented time for our state and our country, and indeed the world. The good thing that has come about is we are in this together. Now, we got tens of millions of dollars from the Congress for education and higher education, children and family, emergency services for low-income families, including help with heat in your homes, for family caregivers, for support services for senior citizens, including meals, for unemployment assistance, for transportation, for elections, more about that, Medicaid, and of course, health care. Now, happily, currently, as we're broadcasting today, the number of cases and the number of deaths in Connecticut has dropped enormously. Dan Haar, a columnist for Hearst, recently wrote that we're probably the #1 state in our response to the pandemic, and in the results of what has happened here. And I have to give credit to Governor Lamont. I mean, he has done he has certainly exceeded expectations. I think he did a great job once we authorized him to kind of take over and operate by executive order. We did that March 11th too, to close down where it should be closed down, provide support, especially in health care, to provide support in unemployment compensation, and in jobs. And it has been a really good record, and the proof is in the pudding. There's no question about it that we were able to ride out this curve, extend it, and get it to the point where the number of cases is down significantly. And we got to keep that up. But we can't let our guard down. You're absolutely right, John. We've seen other states, Texas, Florida, Arizona, even California are among them, where they released all of the safety precautions, and bingo, the number of cases is rising dramatically.
Well, in California, there was really a lot of people that were dramatic.
Yeah.
They had to go out to the beaches. Let's do it now. Let's not wait.
Oh yeah.
So
and it's a big population state too. New York, a lot of New York's problems were because it's just 8 million people crammed into New York City alone. It made a difference.
The subways and the buses, and that's the way a lot of people travel in New York. That made them #1 for that reason. But now it's green, and hopefully that'll stay green also, because people are practicing
absolutely
mask wherever they go.
And we can't give that up. You got to wear masks. You got to wash your hands. You got to, this especially drives me crazy, you've got to observe that social distancing, that at least 6 feet away from each other. I've been out a few times. I finally got my hair cut. I was beginning to look like a hippie back in the 60s. We can't let our guard down collectively, that we've got to continue all of these things, because it's been proven that they work, that this is what saves people's lives. This is what keeps people from getting sick. I know a few people who have died. I know a few people who were hospitalized. I know a few people who got it, but were fortunate enough to be able to convalesce at home. And it includes a colleague or two of mine in the House of Representatives. So this is a very personal thing, and we need to continue our work, observing the the CDC and Governor Mont is still doing just about daily briefings, bringing people up to date on what's going on and providing the resources. And Connecticut has been very good at providing resources, and you can go online and find everything at portal.ct.gov/coronavirus. And
you also have places where you could file your unemployment.
Yes.
If you haven't, you mind reading those off?
Let me do that.
All right.
Unemployment compensation is actually the majority of the constituent calls I've gotten for help have had to do with unemployment compensation. Sadly, unfortunately, and it's kind of our fault, the Department of Labor was not in the least bit prepared to deal with the pandemic. I didn't find out until too late. They were still using computer software based on COBOL. Now, 50 years ago when I was in school, that was cutting edge. It ain't now.
I was going to say.
Yeah, that computer system for them, it's 40 years old. Plus, we downsized the state workforce significantly over the last 10 years. Over 12,000 jobs went away, including in the Department of Labor. And so the ability to respond and just to answer phones was really curtailed. Now we're trying very hard under very pressing circumstances to both upgrade their software and their computer system and hire more people. But it takes a minimum of a month to train someone up to fill one of the service jobs. So you can go to their website and file for unemployment, and that is www.filectui.com. That's filectui.com to be able to file. There's it's a online application process that you can use to file that. If you've got any problems with it, call your state representative. You can call me. We'll give you my number at the end of this, and we'll get you situated. As I said, I've been spending more time dealing with unemployment compensation issues than any other single topic. So if you're unemployed, there it is. Now, if you're a business owner, you can go to the Department of Economic and Community Development, which has guidelines on how to operate your businesses. As we've been unrolling and reopening Connecticut, you can get certification that you've met all of the requirements to reopen and display it in your store window, and that's at business.ct.gov/recovery, https://business.ct.gov/recovery. They've also got a small business hotline at 860-500-2333. That's 860-500-2333. And conversely, if you see a business that's not operating safely, call 211, and we'll try and take care of it. The monitoring is difficult. I was unhappy that the state had to close down a business in New Haven a few days ago. It was a dance club, and they had 1,000 people crammed into a room. No masks, no social distancing, none of that. And they just been closed. But I'm happy. People have really stepped up to be responsible, to take care of each other, and have observed all of the precautions and the masks wearing and the hand washing and the social distancing. And I hope we continue that. There's a lot of other help that's available through that portal.ct.gov/coronavirus, dealing with rents, dealing with mortgages, your landlords. We continue to work with the federal delegation and the governor's office to fund small assistance program. I'm very pleased that the Danbury school system got $250,000 from the CARES Act to deal with the challenges of distance learning. The school systems have been really under a lot of pressure. Kids,
not all of the kids are up to that, so there's going to be.
Oh yeah.
I'm involved with Danbury Youth Services.
Yes, of course.
And they're expecting increased demand with people needing counseling, because not all the kids can learn the way this is dictating them to learn.
Yeah. Well, and there's still kids that just don't have computers to be able to access distance learning. Now, the school system's got hundreds of tablets to go to kids who weren't otherwise have a computer. But even there, the problem is they don't necessarily are in an area where there's Wi-Fi or any other way of connecting to the internet. So there's going to be a lot of to do in the coming school year to try and catch up. I give Sal Passarella, the superintendent of schools here in Danbury, a lot of credit for wrestling with all of the issues that have cropped up and continue to work on the reopening of the school system. And we're only a couple of months away from that, so the planning has to happen now.
As long as we remain green, there's a good chance that it is going to happen, that we are going to open up our school systems come September. I basically got knocked out of here by a gremlin a little while ago. Oh. So I'm not sure how far you went. Have you gone to the things that we're doing as far as voting, and also
let's briefly talk about voting. Obviously, Connecticut still has its presidential primary scheduled for August 11th.
Right
now, happily, our Secretary of the State, Denise Merrill, who's a good person. She's actually one of the last people I saw on March 11th when we were about to vacate the Capitol building, and we actually talked about this. The presidential primary, which was supposed to happen in April, has been put off till August 11th. There still is a primary. There's still more than one Democratic candidates for president and more than one Republican candidates for president. So using a $5+ million grant from the federal government for elections specifically, Denise is going to be mailing absentee ballot applications to all 407,000 Democrats and 275 Republicans for the presidential primary. Now, their applications,
Bob, when are they going to be going out? So
they should be going out around Independence Day, around right after the Independence Day holiday.
Okay, so people look for them. This is what this paper. It's not a fraud thing, you know.
Right, right. And because we've decided the pandemic is an illness, boy, that took a stretch.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants basically can fill out the application. Remember, it's just the application, it's not the ballot, and return it. And once you return it later in July, we'll start mailing out the actual ballots. And the ballots will come to your house. You fill them out. Happily, in a presidential year, it's a relatively short ballot. There's presidential electors. There's no U.S. Senate race in Connecticut this year. So then it's Congress, state Senate, state House of Representatives, and registrar of voters. So it's very short. It's not like,
the city.
It's not the city one where it's two pages and it's like 57 different offices. So you'll be able to fill it out and mail it back, and for the first time, and this is the right thing to do, postage paid. So you won't even have to put your own stamp on it. But you're still going to have to get it in by August 11th. So once you get one of these as a presidential primary, it's only the two people for president running in your party,
right.
and mail it in. But this is only for the primary. It's not yet for the November election.
That's probably not going to come until like before or something.
Well, here's what's got to happen. The primary is being done under an executive order that the legislature empowered the governor to do. But all of the executive order that he's promulgated so far expire September 9th. So the legislature does need to go into special session, hopefully in July, and do a couple of things. And one is change the statute to reflect our Constitution and say that a pandemic is one of the definitions of reasons to get a absentee ballot under the illness provision. Our Constitution limits absentee ballots to a very few things. You're out of town the entire day, religious beliefs, and illness. Now, there's a statute that said it has to be personal illness. We need to change that to include a pandemic, and I think that's going to happen. Now, as an aside, I certainly support an amendment to our Constitution to provide for no excuse absentee balloting. Unfortunately, that's become a ridiculously partisan issue, part of the voter suppression that we've seen going on across this country for a decade or more, and we're going to have to continue to deal with that in the coming years. So that's reason one, that we need a special session. Reason two, since the George Floyd murder, we're going to have to deal with police accountability. Now, Governor Lamont has ordered changes for the state police. They work for him. He's the boss of the whole executive branch, and that's where and he's in charge. So,
well, yeah, that's a direct. So
yeah. So he's outright banned, chokeholds and strangleholds. He's requiring new protocols and procedures for de-escalation, for warnings, for interventions. He's going to create community trust liaisons. That's a big community trust is a real issue in this state and across this nation. Prohibit shooting at moving cars, require more stringent reporting of incidents. So we're going to need to write legislation applying those kinds of things to all police, all municipal police, all special police forces across the state. So that's the second thing we're going to have to do. And as I said before, ironically, when we did have that one bill in March, we did provide more money for funding for police body cameras. We need to mandate that they be used, they be worn, they be on. I was raised up.
Another suggestion would be they give them all a copy of the Constitution and highlight the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment. and then the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act of 65, I think it was.
64, 65.
Yeah.
One of the changes in our lifetime, John, the police have been more professionalized. Many of them now, they actually have degrees in law enforcement, and that's gone a big way, which is why there's lots and lots and lots of good cops. I mean, I have a cousin who was a cop. He's retired now, but the internal training certainly needs to be brought up to speed. We need to get back to the protect and serve motto that you and I grew up with. And I've been really unhappy with this militarization of the police. Too many of them across the country have been acquiring surplus military equipment from the Army. You don't need that. The police are supposed to be our friends. There's a trust issue. Too many people don't believe that's true. So we need to do a lot of rebuilding. But we don't need to have them, being an occupational force, which too many people feel they are.
It's a democracy, not a police state.
Yeah, and I can't legislate changes in attitude among the people, but I can try and work on making things much more protect and serve related than militarized. It's going to be a long haul. We can do this, a bill on this in July, but it's only going to be the first step.
Yeah, can you give us your contact information?
Sure. I've been spending a lot of time. So you can call me toll free at 800-842-1902. That's 800-842-1902. That's the main switchboard at my office, but they'll get to me. You can email me directly at bob.godfrey@cga.ct.gov. You can also go to my website, www.housedems.ct.gov/Godfrey. That's Godfrey. And you can now get free COVID-19 testing in Danbury at the Community Health Center on 8 DeLay Street, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So as I get ready to go to work on the Department of Labor issues, on nursing home issues, boy, there's something we could discuss for a long time. I'm still advocating for you and everybody, John.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks to the viewers for tuning in to the Danbury Dems. We'll see you next week, same time, same station.
Thanks, John.
Take care.